So in this video, I'm going to go over how to determine when a fundamental thesis becomes invalid, at least for me. I'm going to be going over this example SRM and how I traded it. So this one released this crypto treasury news this morning, which we've seen a lot of these on KNW, SBET. I mean, there's been a lot of them where basically they get a big investment to launch a crypto treasury. So this one, I was actually very familiar with this one because I was long before this move. It's actually really painful to see it trading up here. I actually posted my chart here. So I got long. They did a private placement back here, which I'll get into kind of how it fits with my thesis today. And then, I mean, usually when I long these, I am anticipating a gap and to sell into the gap, but this thing just kind of floated up, like, as you can see, a lot. I mean, almost like 200%. So it was kind of hard to not sell it, but it is what it is. I just missed this massive move right here. But anyways, so that private placement was back here on May 21st for 50 cents. It was convertible preferred stock. And then this underwriter Dominary, and then the owners, which I'll get into who these guys are in a second. But I figured that they participated in this because they obviously, I mean, they clearly knew that this was coming. But I figured that they'd be selling or at least getting short into this move, which would obviously put pressure on the stock because their cost basis is 50 cents. So the reason why I say get short is because the registration for the convertible preferred and the warrants are still pending effect. So they can't necessarily sell anything, but they can short the stock and then cover later. But that's just what I thought. And the thing about this, when you have scenarios like this where the stock, gaps way over the cost basis of somebody who bought offering, if they're going to be selling into that, generally they're selling into it early, pretty quickly out the gate. And these will get under VWAP pretty quickly and stay under VWAP. So pretty much I was shorting it pre-market and then covered here. The reason why you see short here is because it's a trigger order. So it's kind of a way to set a stop pre-market. But anyways, I got back in, and then I'd say right around here was when I was like, okay, they're not selling. They're not selling or shorting. Like it can't do this if that's what they're doing. And I did check out another video I did on this, going over this concept on MGOL. I think it's called Forming and Abandoning a Thesis. And I also talk about this on MLGO, and I did one on HOLO where you can use that information to actually go long. I didn't. The reasoning being is that we know that they have shares that they can sell for a huge profit, basically 10x, and they're not. I went over this with MGOL. They had a bunch of cashless warrants and the stock was up several 100%, but there was no pressure on it, no selling pressure on it. And then MLGO was another one where it was just way over their cost base, but still no signs of any selling. So that's a reason to believe that it could be going higher. But anyways, I didn't long it. I still am not totally sure how I would play this. The thing is, I looked these guys up in our underwriter lookup. So they're also involved in a lot of like China pump and dump type scams. I couldn't find many examples where there was like a big gap after a private placement. Now these guys, American Ventures, Su Yu, this person is actually the wife of the president of Dominary Securities. And these guys actually were involved in a couple other private placements. DOMH was one. They actually were involved in one back in here before I made this move. And then UMAC was another one, same kind of thing. They were also involved. Now they didn't, but this was a little bit different because they actually bought the entire private placement, whereas here they only bought a little bit. And actually Eric Trump Jr., I believe, bought in both of these. UMAC and DOMH was involved in those. And I think there's also a lot of speculation that he would be involved in SRM because their crypto strategy has to do with this Tron And then there was some stuff going around that Eric Trump was going to serve as an advisor to Tron, which actually he just said recently. I'm the biggest fan of Tron. I love Justin. No, this is like the founder of Tron. But he doesn't have any public involvement with the company. So I guess that speculation is kind of dead now. So at this point, I'm not really sure what the agenda is. What I do in these situations, I just kind of go do some digging and try to, again, find some more, any other similar examples to this setup. So I'll go back and see how DOMH played out, how UMAC played out. One thing I noticed was that Dominary, the underwriter in the previous private placement, is also connected to Revere, and Revere did a lot of the big pumps on BMGL, MCTR, which we saw recently, and those had these massive day ones like this, and then they sold off on day two. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. It's something that I just briefly looked at that. So basically, just that's kind of what I do. I just go back and try to find similar situations, similar examples where there's a move after a private placement with the same or similar people involved. Really all I'm looking for is just past examples that set up technically and then fundamentally and see how those played out. So that's it.